What up, everybody? Welcome back to Full Publications YouTube channel. As always, me Rich. On this channel, talk about zines and DIY culture. Basically, if you're into doing things yourself and you're trying to build your own little space, creative space to do your thing, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to help your boy out, go ahead and like the video. Today, I wanted to talk about Quibi. I just couldn't help it. I thought it was a very fun and interesting thing for two reasons. One, it shows what not to do as a business startup, but also two, it also shows a rejection of the McDonaldization of art. So to begin with, kind of building off of just yesterday, me watching Evil Dead and all that on the projector, people that like film, like we like to watch it comfortably. And I understand that they were building Quibi, which is their version of quick bites, which were like 8 to 10 minute videos. And it was meant to be something you watch on your phone while you're on the bus or whatever. So it's only for your phone. It was only for your mobile app. But it's the point of like the way you're supposed to consume it is not necessarily the way people that really like film like to consume it. Someone like me that would have probably gave it a chance, I'm not gonna watch it on my phone. I'm just not. But I watch movies all the time. I just don't watch them on my phone. One of the things that they burned through all their money was getting big names. And it was a very old Hollywood mentality. This idea that if they get these stars will attract people to the app. Right? Now I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say it straight up. There has yet to be a movie that based upon the actor, I go to watch. I think that idea, that old Hollywood form of doing it is gone. It doesn't matter that you paid Reese Witherspoon $6-7 million to narrate these 10-minute nature videos. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like it boggles my mind on what they spent the money on. Now, here goes another problem. A lot of the content they had, from my understanding and from what I've seen, no one cared about, no one liked. Meaning that they focused on bringing stars, but they didn't focus on the content. And that's what I mean by McDonald's art, where it doesn't matter. It was mass manufactured, right? It was name brand, and it just lacked any nutrition. It lacked any substance. It just didn't fucking matter. That's McDonald's art. That's junk food. Now, that's not to say that all the content on Quibi sucked, right? They didn't market it well. And lastly, it's the budgeting, man. How do you raise $1.7 billion and then go belly up in 6 months? It's just ludicrous to me. It reminds me of that film where $120,000 and they didn't even finish the movie. And the reality of it is, they're just giving this money to the wrong people. So here's an article that I found interesting from TechCrunch, which was Quibi the good kind of startup failure. It's an article by Eric Eldon. And the article talks about how we all should, promote startups, and like failure is a normal part of startups. But there's a quote here by Danny Crichton, who I think is just spot on. It says, let's be honest, most startups fail. Most ideas turn out wrong. Most entrepreneurs are never going to make it. That doesn't mean no one should build a startup or pursue their passions and dreams. When success happens, we like to talk about it, report on it, and try to explain why it happens. Because ultimately, many entrepreneurs' success is good for all of us and helps to drive progress in our world. But let's also be clear that there are bad ideas, and then there are flagrantly bad ideas with billions in funding from smart people who otherwise should know better. Quibi wasn't the spark of the proverbial college dropout with a passion for entertainment trying to invent a new format for mobile phones with ramen money from friends and family. Quibi was run by two of the most powerful and influential executives in the United States today who raised more money for the project than other female founders have raised collectively. Now, mind you, like any startup, we all know that it takes 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years to make a profit. So all these things I feel like Quibi did wrong. Right? I feel like they should have started off smaller, less content, less pricey content as well, right? And they should have had their show, right? Like they should have had the things that they really push adamantly. And I don't feel that they had that. I didn't really see them push any content out strongly, right? Like a lot of it was like, hey, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. And so they didn't find a niche, right? And I think about some of the streaming services that I paid into, such as like Indie Film, right? The Indie Film podcast, the Indie Film Hustle podcast, they ended up having their own streaming platform. That was something I paid into. There was another one I had paid into called Shorts, which was just different short films. And like these are things that they found me through the marketing and were like, hey, you're interested in independent film. Hey, you're interested in short films. Something you might be interested in. And they were right. Right? We paid into horror streaming platforms and like B movies, things like that. Shit that I like. When I look at Quibi, Quibi didn't reach me on that level. Kind of going back to something Gary Vee always talks about, like contextualizing it, right? Why would I watch Quibi? You know what I'm saying? And like they didn't do that. They just say, hey, we're Quibi and we have a bunch of cool shit. Come check us out. And it's like, no, like why, me as an individual, why would I care about Quibi? And they didn't try to reach viewers in that way. Secondly, they did not give themselves enough time. In my mind, it's hard to understand how you can have $1.7 billion in funding and go belly up in 6 months. I feel like they should have been able to run it for 2 to 3 years, find the kinks, find the problems in it, because every tech app always has problems in the beginning. And I just want to read a few of the ratings. It's a terrible experience from start. The amp function is fine, but the content is subpar. Is another one by Nicole. And then the last one is, please, is there anyone who is using Google Pixels and having problems opening the Quibi app? And so they just didn't give themselves enough time to figure out, 1, what they were doing right, 2, what they were doing wrong, 3, where to go from there. Right? So they put themselves in a very cutthroat situation. I'm happy that people rejected Quibi. Because Quibi, for all intents and purposes, was the beginning of the McDonald arts era. And people rejected it. People said, 1, we don't want things that have big names, right? Name brand, that just lacks substance and has no nutrition for us, right? It was just junk food. It was just this idea that we have these big stars attached to these projects and you can watch them on your phone and that's it. That's all we have for you guys. Thanks so much for coming by. It's like, no, you have to have something we want to watch and you need to create content that matters and people care about, right? Like, I always remember something Casey Neistat talked about of like, or was there a Transformer film? He went to go watch a Transformer film and he fell asleep during that movie. And then on the flip side, that same night, he went to go watch a documentary, which was just Mike Tyson talking into a camera, and he said it was thrilling. And that's the point. The substance matters. And so this was their attempt at like the Brave New World. If anyone's read Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, they talk about how like in the future, films are cut down and they move really, really fast, and there's really no substance, and they're they're based on a formula. And like we've seen Netflix begin to implement things like that, of like the algorithm and the formula, and so they tap into that, right? That's why I'm not a big fan of Netflix, right? So like you're seeing this happen, and I feel like Quibi was probably right now the pinnacle of it all, and people said no, like they said we don't want this McDonald art, fuck this shit. I don't care if Anna Kendrick and Kevin Hart are in this shit, like this shit needs to still be good. It needs to be good, it needs to matter. And the same thing with Netflix. I've heard a lot of people complaining on Netflix, and a lot of that has to do with that fact of like they're basing a lot of the content they're making on algorithms and formulas. And like, you know what I mean? Like, me and my wife were having a conversation about this not too long ago about like this idea of like, if you're trying to make a movie like 100 other movies, like why make it? You know what I mean? Like if you don't have a very unique perception or a unique voice, or you're not trying to tackle something from uniquely, then, you know, like do something else. And that's the point though. Like a lot of this new art that's coming out is like we're gonna just retell the same story 100 different ways with very slight variations. But alright, you guys, that's all I got for you guys, man. I just wanted to go on this quick rant because once again, like I said, like I think this is a prime example of McDonald's art, and people just saying, nah, we're okay on that, man. And not only that, but just like that business startup, right? Because I do enjoy business. It's just that intersection was very interesting to me about Quibi of like, how do you raise 1.7 billion and still fail? And there were so many mistakes. I mean, like the Quibi thing, so many mistakes riddled with it, and like that quote really hit home for me because, like I said, like I remember that guy they gave $120,000 to, and he failed at that movie. And in my mind, I was like, this is a movie where people are just talking. It's a movie based on people talking in different rooms. How do you blow that budget? How do you not make that movie? And it's literally that. They're just giving this money to the wrong people. They're giving this money, these opportunities, to people that don't care, that don't have a passion, that don't have a creative drive. For them, it's all just algorithms and formula. And so, fuck that. But alright guys, thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far, go and subscribe to the channel and like the video. Lates.
Fight the fascists.